And you know what's interesting is that on my channel, in my community, I have essentially 33% of you who absolutely love the guy, 33% of you who can't stand him, and 33% of you, just like me, are completely indifferent. And so I wanted to start off this video by saying it is going to be triggering for a minimum of 33% of you. And that's okay. That's okay, because I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. And if I was here to make friends, or if I was here to tell you what you wanted to hear, then I would be pretty corrupt as a remote viewer. Because the #1 rule of remote viewing is stay objective as possible. The second that you have a preconceived notion of the outcome is the second that you can actually skew the information, right? So for me, I try and stay objective. I try and stay in a 0-point frequency, in really a state of neutrality. And anytime I'm emotional about something, or I have some sort of attachment to an opinion or outcome, I stay far away from remote viewing that topic. All right, so I just want to let you know that I wouldn't be talking about this if if I thought that I would make friends from it, basically. If I thought that I was just going to please everyone here. So fair warning, trigger warning for sure. There's a portion of you that are going to be upset by the information. And frankly, it doesn't really faze me, right? I'm not here for that. So I do want to get into it. I don't really have anything else to preface with other than take it or leave it. Yeah, that's about it. Let's talk about the facts in this case. Essentially on April 25th, what day is it today? I think that was 2 days ago, a day or two ago. April 25th, 2026, there was a White House correspondent dinner, and there was a gunman, an armed gunman, who fired shots and allegedly was going after the president, Donald Trump. No one died. I believe one security guy was injured. And the guy's name, the shooter's name, is Cole Thomas Allen. Okay? So that's the facts. That's kind of what I'm starting off with. And then essentially what I do in order to remote view it is I sit down, I quiet my mind, I get into a state of equanimity, which essentially means that I get into a state where nothing else in the present moment exists. Not the hunger in my stomach, not the chill in the air, not the fly flying around. You get into a state where you can completely detach and remove yourself from all of your senses and from the present moment in space and time. What's really cool about remote viewing is you can get out of your body and go to any place throughout space and time. So what I did here was something called self-directed, or at least I call it self-directed remote viewing. And then there's also blind scientific remote viewing, which I can do as well. This was self-directed. So my target was essentially the scene of the event, which I immediately flew into. And it's interesting, as a remote viewer, I always sort of come in from the top. I don't know why that is, don't ask me, but essentially I was at the top of the room, okay, that it was happening in, or the building that was happening in. I heard the shots, everyone's really frantic and panicked. There's guys chasing after the guy. You know, that doesn't tell me much though. It literally tells me everything that you can read in the newspaper. Wow, I really aged myself there. Everything you can read online. Clearly, I don't read the news. Okay. So then what you have to do as a remote viewer is like, okay, so you go to the scene, right, that you want to go to, and then you backtrack. And this is so fascinating. You can do this in past life regression as well. As a past life regressionist, you can tell someone to go 5 years into the future. You can tell someone to go to the next significant moment in that lifetime, and boom, they just go right to that event. And this is how I direct myself with out-of-body experiences or remote viewing, is essentially how I used to direct my clients with past life regression, which is pretty cool that they kind of overlap. Anyway, so I saw the scene, right? And then I wanted to backtrack, and my intention was, take me, what was my intention? take me to the moment that this was planned. That was my intention. Take me to the moment in time that this situation was planned out or thought of. Now, if this situation was planned out by one guy, by one, terrorist or whoever, right, this guy, then I would most likely be popping into a scene where it's this guy, Cole Thomas Allen, in his bedroom or his living room or something, planning out his attack. And surprise, surprise, that's not where I went at all. I immediately backtrack, and it's really tough to tell you like what the timeline was of this. I want to say it was, it's hard. Like I really don't like saying timelines. I would roughly guess, and it's so funny because some people are like, well, EA, like why don't you know a timeline of when these things happened? And I'm like, when you remote view a room, okay, any given room, any given moment in time, right? Do you really think that there's a clock? Is there a calendar on the wall saying, yes, today's date is this one. I'm gonna go ahead and circle today's date for no reason whatsoever. It's actually funny, but like, it's like a feeling that you get of the timeline, but it's pretty rough. I would roughly say that I went back in time about 6 to 8 months, okay? Don't quote me on that. Like I said, there wasn't a calendar on the wall. It was just sort of a feeling. Anyway, but I very specifically hop into this room, okay? And I can't even tell you where the room was because I immediately just hop into this room. It was pretty dimly lit, okay? And it wasn't a super big room. And there was a round table, well, more like an oval table in the room. And then around the oval table, I would say were maybe about 15 individuals, and these were all men, first of all, and they were all wearing like business suits, is what it looked like. And the first thing that I noticed about this room was that it was definitely like a secure, I don't want to say like a top secret room, but it was definitely a secure room. And the reason why I noticed that is because there were no cameras, there were no listening devices, there were no transcribers. So sometimes I'll pop into a scene and you have all of that. You have recording devices, you have someone who's typing things out or recording it. There was none of that. It was very specifically a room. It was like one of those like super silent, bulletproof, sort of totally sealed rooms. Okay, I don't know why, it was so clear to me that this room, they were having like a top secret meeting. Outside of the doors of this room were security guards. And then there was me, okay? Every once in a while, maybe not every once in a while, quite frequently, I will pop into a scene like that and there will be other remote viewers. And actually, and now that I even say that, I want to go back to the actual scene of the incident, okay, where the shots were fired. When I went back to that moment in time, there were other remote viewers up like in the ceiling where I was. And I just thought that was really funny. Every once in a while, I'll go to like ancient Egypt or something and I'll see another remote viewer just kind of creeping around. Sometimes I'll see a lot of remote viewers or astral projectors, kind of same thing in my books, who are, say, like at the scene of Hurricane Katrina. When I go to disaster scenes or the fires in Hawaii, I'll see a lot of other people, a lot of other out-of-body individuals there, whether they're consciously aware of it or not. It's just fascinating for me to encounter others who are there. So I did end up seeing a couple of other remote viewers at the scene who also felt like they were trying to figure out what was going on at the time of the shooting a couple days ago. So that was fascinating. Anyway, but as I go back in time and I go into this room, there were no other remote viewers, okay? This is important because typically there are like military style remote viewers and you never know what to expect when you're just popping into a scene, and that's when I get sometimes into tricky situations and I get kicked out and things like that. So anyway, there weren't any of those, which was nice, so I could just be there in peace and listen to what was happening. Okay, so who was there? Who was in this top secret meeting talking about this planned, very much so a planned, Do I want to call it an assassination attempt or not? We'll get into it. So like I said, 15 or so of these men in business suits. It's like really tough for me to say this next part because I know so many of you are not going to like it, but I'm just going to be objective and, and just say it like it is and maybe just read off of my notes for a second. Okay, hold on. So men in suits, no notes being taken around a table in a secure room. Okay, so the Trump shooting was staged, but it was staged from the inside. So the only guy in the room that I recognized was Donald Trump himself. He was at the end of the table, and there was all these men, and they were presenting to him this situation, okay? And it was not Trump's idea, but he went along with it. What else did I say? Yeah, so Trump was briefed and involved in it beforehand. They discussed, and so part of their discussion was they discussed being found out and how it would potentially discredit the first shooting in 2024, okay? It was very clear that that first shooting in 2024 was not from the same group or organization, but they seemed to be clearly concerned that if this was found out that this was staged, that the first one would be called into question as well, because why wouldn't you call that into question? So now my biggest question upon seeing this is why? Why would something like this be staged, right? Of course. So this was staged for a variety of reasons. The number one reason that I saw was to rally the masses and once again pick up support. Kind of like a sympathy vote. That's what I saw. That was like the overarching theme or like message is like, well, in 2024, like it really riled people up. It got people going. It brought our people together, and we can do that again. We can. So funny because I don't know why they think they can do these things again. It's like no matter it not being from them, it's interesting. So the number one reason was to really rally the masses again and pick up support and bring them together and increase the loyalty and increase the viewership to create this sense of fear and like they're after Trump and, we got to rally together. So that was like the number one reason. There was also a couple other reasons. So this one, and I didn't dig into it too deeply, but it was also about a little bit of distraction. So to create a distraction for other things that are going on, it's like, hey, look over here. This is happening. This is a big deal. Let's all talk about this rather than everything else that's happening. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then the other thing that came through was that if a staged attack were to happen in this way, it would increase funding and support for certain projects. Like, it's almost like they know that something like this happening would create, obviously, concern, but it would also create more support and more funding from other organizations to be like, hey, we're really going to back Trump because there are certain people against him and he really needs the extra support right now. So it was very clear that there was also like this increasing the funding, increasing the support for different projects as well that they had on the table. Okay, so I do want to talk about who Cole Allen is, because whenever I see an event like this that is staged, and we saw that with Charlie Kirk, and I called it out like it was right off the bat, and then actually it was just a day or two after the Charlie Kirk incident. And, same thing, I get shit on because I'm just saying what I see, and then literally months later, they're like, yeah, we don't think that that guy was the shooter, or there was actually two shooters that people saw, or whatever. And it's like, yep, it's everything that I saw. Not that, I don't know, who knows what's going to be released. Okay, so, but I'm always curious, like, who is the fall guy, right? Like, who is this guy that they got to take the blame for this and to carry out this plan, you know? Because there's no way you could pay an actor enough money to do this, right? So I'm always curious. This is just my own curiosity, but who is Cole Allen and how did he get involved? And I saw it very clearly, okay? So this was just a guy who, and the first word that came up with him was disgruntled. He was very disgruntled and he didn't have much to live for. And he was primarily disgruntled around the political system. Now I see, so there's so many different ways that they find these individuals and like have them be the fall guy. And sometimes they are massively paid off and sometimes like their family gets money. Like there's so many different ways, like, you know. Anyway, so this guy in particular, this is what I wrote down. He was actively contacted by an organization to make an impact on humanity. So that was the biggest thing. And the way that because I'm like, how do they find a guy like this who's going to carry out a plan like this? And here's what I saw, okay? That they ended up, so they being this, not necessarily, I don't know if I want to call them the shadow government, but essentially this group or organization who are working in tandem or for Trump. And like I said, this wasn't Trump's idea, but he was a part of it. And so they found this guy, and they actually found him online, and they did a lot of background. They had many guys in mind for this. Someone who was proficient with firearms, but not super proficient. Someone who was disgruntled with the government. Someone who could be manipulated. Maybe someone with a mental health background, right? They ended up finding this guy from an online post or a series of online posts, and then this organization contacted him, and obviously the organization contacted him, and the guy didn't really know who the organization was, okay? And the organization said, hey, if you really hate the current system, if you really want to make an impact, if you want to help humanity out, this is what you can do. Show up at this time, at this location, on this date. We will get you in, no questions asked, and you basically attempt to do that. So it's like the puppets, right, that are involved in this, the fall guy that are involved, they're only given a very small fraction of the information, and they usually play upon their weaknesses, right? Their maybe their mental illness or something like that. Sometimes there are drugs and there are MK Ultra type programmings involved. I did not necessarily see, I didn't look into it too much. I just kind of wanted to know how this guy was even contacted and found and like who he was. There were a couple of meetings, in-person meetings with this guy and this organization. So it's like there could have been maybe some programming involved, but once again, I didn't get too deep into it. But that's usually very common that they mess with their mind a little bit as well. Okay, so there was something else that really came through with this whole event, and to be honest, I don't know how to piece these giant pieces of the puzzle together, but I do feel compelled to talk about this. There is something really big that is about to happen, okay? And there are two themes that that keep coming up when it comes down to like conspiracies and agendas and like something that's going to really impact the world, like the globe, okay? One is aliens, okay? One feels like a huge disclosure is about to happen. I keep feeling, and I'm pretty sure I said this in my 2026 prediction video, but disclosure happening around like early summer. That's what I kind of felt. And it felt like it was going to come from the government. It's always a soft approach when it comes from the government. I think for the average everyday person, it's like, oh my God, what? You knew about this? Like, oh. And for me, it's like, okay, let's move on, you know? So I do feel like a really big disclosure is going to happen. And then at the same time, there's going to be this big fear event that is going to occur as well. I don't know if the big fear event is like a nuclear scare, right, with like a World War III type agenda, or if it's going to be some sort of massive power outage, which could be tied to war. It could be tied to the oil crisis. It could be tied to a supposed or apparent or even a real solar flare event. It just feels like there's going to be sort of a cosmic disclosure event happening and then a massive sort of agenda conspiracy fear event happening at the same time. I don't know how this all ties in with sort of this planned attack against Trump, but I had to say it because I keep feeling it. Every time I do a remote view on the governments and sort of what's happening behind the scenes, it's like it's this buildup to something really big. And that's what I keep feeling. Aliens and fear, and they're different. Okay, now here's the thing, right? Humans are not asleep anymore. Like I don't want to say it's laughable that they think they can get away with this stuff, but I can't believe they think they can get away with this stuff. There's way too many people online who are questioning things, who are bringing things up. Like it just blows my mind. So at the end of the day, events like this are bringing people together, and more corruption and exposure is going to come out. Now, I just want to talk very briefly about sort of the law of karma and energetically what's happening right now. Okay, I was just telling my friend this the other day. In the past, you could hide from things, right? You could hide from yourself, you could hide from your unhappiness, you could hide from the truth of the government, you could hide whatever you're hiding. You could hide your affair, right? You could hide in the past, right? For a long time, mostly hide from yourself and your own truth and your own lessons. No longer can you do that, both at a collective government conspiracy, shadow government level, can they hide anymore? But also, you guys, at an individual level. There is no more hiding the truth, right? We are moving into a place where everything is getting exposed, and that's just at an energetic level, okay? That's where we're going. The frequencies are happening so rapidly that the truth is going to be out there and it's going to be seen. So what I would recommend for all of you is, yeah, okay, be aware of what's happening out in the world. But unless it directly impacts you, okay, try not to feed it too much of your attention. What I suggest you do instead is take all of that extra energy you have to deep dive into the conspiracy world and spend it looking inward. Who are you? What do you want? And are you actually happy? If you're not happy, okay, the universe, your spirit guides, your higher self, okay, is going to pull that rug from underneath you. It's going to lift that veil very suddenly. And it's going to feel like that is out of your control. But I'm telling you right now that this is the time to see clearly. This is the time to make the choices that are going to align you to living your most authentic life. And if you choose not to see, if you choose not to show up, if you choose to continue to stay blissfully ignorant, if you continue to choose a fucking side, the rug is going to be pulled. Because the reality is that there are no sides. There's only a spectrum of frequency that allow us to experience highs and lows. But ultimately, there is only unity. And you can only reach unity once you both accept the light, which is easy to do, but simultaneously accept the dark. Stop distracting. Stop disassociating. Stop running away. Stop projecting your own energy, your own fear, your own unhappiness outside of yourself. Start taking full radical responsibility for your life. And guess what? It's not your boss. It's not the government. It's not the president. It's definitely not your in-laws. It's you. It's you. If you're unhappy, that's on you. Stop blaming everyone and everything else. Stop wasting your time and energy on the collapse of the collective, because guess what? It's fucking collapsing. Let it collapse. What you can do is take responsibility for your own life and change what needs to be changed. And yeah, I get it. Change is scary. It's not fun. Makes you very uncomfortable. But you have to do it in order to live authentically. And once you live authentically, then you're truly happy. And there is no other way to exist right now. And if you are choosing otherwise, it's going to come back around very suddenly, very clearly, and you only have yourself to blame. Learn the lessons right now, take a good hard look at your life, and accept responsibility for the shitty parts, and then choose to change them. Because you can do that. And because you deserve to do that. If you guys want to know more about conspiracies, agendas, and all of that great stuff, head on over to my website. You don't have to sign up to be a member, but I do have conspiracies, agendas, reptilians. I have video bundles that have all of these videos in them. If you don't want to be a member, go check out the video bundle section of the website, and you can then binge watch all of the videos that you're interested in. I also have an Astral Chronicles workshop where I live remote view the white hats and talk to them about the state of the world. I got to do another one. Once you buy that bundle once, that workshop once, which I think is either $11 or $22, you get access infinitely to all of my future astral travel chronicle videos with the white hats. So it's pretty cool. All right, guys. This month we did RFK Jr. remote viewing. Next month in May, I am remote viewing the Kardashians. So if you want to go a little basic, if you want to be a little mainstream, and you're interested in who the Kardashians are, then definitely sign up, because that is a members only video. And other than that, guys, I will see you next Monday. Love you so much. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, check out my TikTok and my Instagram and all of the things. And I'll see you soon enough. Bye for now.